Welcome back to KTN News Center. So October this year, President Uhuru Kenyatta came out and said that he's not militarizing the country through the appointments of the military men and women that he has appointed in various government positions. But is that really the feeling on the ground? What are politicians saying? What are Kenyans saying? So now, I'd like to bring on board Dennis Anyoka, who is a political and legal expert. And thank you so much for talking to us here on KTN News Center, Wakili. So now, so many questions are being asked. Why the servicemen, men and women, being given appointments that even cabinet secretaries, other Kenyans, can be able to do?
Brenda, good morning. And as per your question, I think there is a passion by the president to appoint the people in the military and those in the National Intelligence Service. And I think it's because of his association, and he has a feeling that those are the people who have great integrity and can be able to deliver. I believe, probably if you go historically, President Uhuru Kenyatta's father was a president, and therefore he had a close association as a family to these people. And his belief is that these are the people who have great integrity and that the only people who can be able to deliver. The sad bit is that therefore the people from the military or this intelligence service, they have a code of operation and conduct, which is not for civilians. And we are likely to see an overflow of their actions, their conduct, their manner of operation into the civilian operations, which is quite unfortunate. I believe there could be other Kenyans who can deliver, though there's nothing wrong, specifically legally, for anybody to be appointed to any position, though he served previously in the military or not.
All right, and just echoing what the president said, because he's talking about the integrity and the credibility and the discipline of the military men and women. But what is the danger of bringing the military men and women into the civil space?
You see, the danger is that we will now be making every sphere of operation be militarized, and we are now going to have the command structure, the command chain. There's no room for questioning things, and it's very difficult to get this particular information out. And at the end of it all, in the democratic space and the growth of our institutions that we have had and witnessed in the last few years is likely to shrink. And going forward, we are likely to see the reduction of the space within which you can raise an issue. If you look at the history of Kenyan, I think world over, it is very difficult for you to get information from the military setup because of their nature of operation. That is not what we require in the civilian, areas, like, commissions that are provided. Unfortunately, we have seen, like the Kenya Meat Commission, there is an act of parliament which sets up the Kenya Meat Commission, and it has a structure and where it should be able to fall as a commission, which has nothing to do with the military. When we see this happening, then we can, other than the issues of militarizing that particular process and the unfortunate incident that will occur, we have the issue of breaking of the laws that we have set ourselves. And in the fullness of time, we are supposed to comply with the law, have institutions work closely with other sister institutions within the forestry or agriculture or livestock. We have other sister departments that can be able to borrow and get information and all that. But when you pick one commission and take it and put it under the military, then I think it's unfortunate.
All right. So when you talk about accountability, Wakilis, then who will they be accountable to? Because, for example, when you talk about the county governments, the governors are accountable to the senators. So they appear before a committee to answer to questions that will be put forth. So who are they going to be accountable to when it comes to financial accountability?
If you are talking about, for example, the Nairobi Metropolitan Service, where we have seen Songo's situation and we have now somebody else taking charge, I believe if you ask any lawyer, they will tell you there is an illegality in pushing and making the county government of Nairobi be like a department under the national government. Yes, there is an agreement, but the agreement should not be able to strip off the people of Nairobi and the county of Nairobi its powers and its ability to explain itself to the people who are supposed to, hold it accountable. That is the Senate. Now, we have a challenge when we have the national government taking charge, like we are seeing within the county government of Nairobi. So that becomes a legal challenge if in the fullness of time you have the county government running and functioning in full. Remember, the county government has its institutions, including the county assembly, which is in place. We have the county executive, members of the county executive, all these people have been put in place legally so that they are able to have a structured way of accounting for their activities. Now, when you bypass that and take this to the national government, then you distort the structure that is required to be complied within the constitution. So that poses a challenge. And I want to believe, depending on how the Sonko impeachment goes, because Sonko's case is very unique, because one, there's no deputy governor in Nairobi. So if you want to be
Wakili, just hold on to that Sonko impeachment. We'll be delving into that later on. But then my question is, who are they going to be accountable to? Because when you look at the Kenya Meat Commission, which has been taken to the military, it falls under the Ministry of Agriculture. And you know, Badi is just among 10 of Kenyatta's appointments within the security and intelligence, bureaucracy to key strategic administrative posts. And that is what it begs the question. Who are they going to be reporting to? Accountability. Tell us how you've utilized this money. Tell us why this government parastatal is not working the way it should be working.
Some of the appointments, and that is the base for which I was giving the early explanation, those within parastatals, and they've been appointed as to head those parastatals, like Kenya Meat Commission now being moved elsewhere, we have a parent act which sets out the structure and manner of accountability. And many of these parastatals remained in the national government. So in a strict sense, there would be a challenge in terms of accountability because we have the auditor, general, we have the Kenya National Audit Office, which will be able to audit whatever it is they want to audit, and all systems are set. The only issue will be that, for example, Kenya Meat Commission, having been moved from the Ministry of Livestock, Agriculture, which are the Department for Livestock, are now taken elsewhere, there is no coherence. First, there is the breach of the law itself, which sets it out and establishes Kenya Meat Commission, which sets under what ministry it will fall. And there's no amendment to that particular act. Secondly, other than that, then you deprive this particular commission the other resources that exist within the larger Ministry of Agriculture, which is actually national, national government parastatal. So there will be that accountability might not necessarily, for those that are national, may not be a problem. We'll have only a challenge in terms of accountability for those aspects where appointments have been made, yet they have a strong link and anchorage to the county government operations.
All right. So now the president's argument is I'm appointing these men and women from, men and women of the uniform, especially the military, as a way of protecting my legacy because they're understanding what they're understanding what I want to be delivered. Is it really about his legacy?
I don't think so. And I don't think, and probably Kenyans may not agree with me, but those of us who view the way the president has been operating, he's not likely to have any legacy by 2022 because there was the Big Four agenda, which died on its way. We are now talking about unifying the country through a process of BBI, a process that does not give solutions on how Kenyans will be unified in the fullness of time. So at the end of the day, I'd like you to get to 2022, having a yes or no argument, a divided nation, and the Big Four agenda has collapsed. Perhaps if the president ever wanted really to achieve the legacy, then he should focus on just one thing. Right now we have health crisis. He should simply focus on it, and he can be able to turn around the public health sector so that then that becomes his legacy because that is achievable, it's doable, which he has not taken, keen interest in because you remember in the Big Four agenda, we had the universal healthcare scheme, which was launched, with pomp and color, but that was it. So I doubt whether these appointments are going to deliver any legacy for him because for a legacy to be delivered, there must be a structured pattern and clear objective on what legacy wants to achieve. These appointments are not achieving anything.
All right. So now, in one of the stories that has been done by my colleague Murimi Mwangi in terms of militarizing the country, we've had Mohammed Badi, the man in charge of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, saying that he's not a politician, he's not intending to be a politician, he's just doing his work. He's been sent by the president to deliver, give service delivery to Nairobians. But then in another angle, the politicians who are officially opposed to Badi, coming to Nairobi to try and offer services to Kenyans, saying that probably the president is introducing the military men into politics indirectly.
Yeah, I think the fact that today the General Badi says that he's not a politician does not mean they can't be a politician tomorrow. And it doesn't mean that he can't vie for a position, even vie to be a governor. I mean, he's a Kenyan and the law allows him to do that. And it's true that the fact that he's been put in that position and he argues and he says he has delivered, then we will be able to vie. So it's true that it can be introduced. Though even if you ask me, I don't see there's anything really wrong for anybody to vie for a position. The only challenge and the only issue and what we should be wary of is now shrinking the accountability space and ensuring that we have shielded some system in such a way that the systems of accountability cannot work. For example, you've moved what should have been accounted through the county government structure out of it, and now the systems cannot work for it. You are moved into national government, and there is no, structured system in a way in which this particular issue can be addressed. For me, that becomes a concern. As to whether these military people will later join politics or not, it's really neither here nor there. It's a matter for each party to decide and each individual to make a personal decision and conviction.
All right, so the term of the NMS under the leadership of Mohamed Badi is until, if I'm not wrong, until 2023, and it will also, he will continue serving and, giving Nairobians the services under NMS after even the general elections. So what happens if, for example, I'm not saying that is what will happen on the floor of the House of the Senate, but if the governor is impeached, what happens to NMS? Will it be scrapped off? Because if the governor is impeached, that means we get a new governor.
No, the agreement will not be voided or cannot be scrapped, or NMS cannot be scrapped just by dint of impeachment of the governor, because it's a valid document. It is not about the individual, it's about the county government and ceding its function. If you look at the Constitution, it's very clear that the county government and national government can get into an agreement and arrangement for some functions to be done by aid of the governments. So it's not about a particular governor as an individual, it's about the county government. The county government of Nairobi exists. So Governor Sonko could be impeached, would be able to exit, but it does not mean that the agreement will be now void by virtue of that impeachment, or the entire NMS can be scrubbed off. The only issue that legally and the only dilemma that the Nairobians will be able to face is whether we should go for a re-election immediately within the period required if the governor is impeached, because there's no deputy governor to take over. What you have seen in other cases, like if you looked at the Kiambu case, there was a deputy governor who was in office, so he was able to take over. On the county governments where we have lost governors, there is somebody who takes over. In Nairobi, we don't have a deputy governor. That is the unique aspect. And therefore, legally, the question could be whether really procedurally we should go to elections, or since these functions are being done by another institution, really what happens. So it won't be a surprise if the governor Sonko is impeached. It won't be a surprise if we see applications to the Supreme Court for advisory opinion, though legally speaking, it means if the governor is impeached, the speaker should take over the leadership of the county for a short while, within which period by-election should be conducted.
All right. Dennis Anyoka, a political and legal expert, talking to us about, that story of militarizing Kenya. And thank you so much, Wakili, for your time here on KTN News Center. So we focus on